This conference will now be recorded.
We can wait for a minute or two, then we can start. All participants are joining one by one.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sure. Yamini, madam.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So shall we start now?
Sir, shall we wait for 3 minutes?
Okay, fine. Cool. Good evening, everyone. We can start by next 1 minute. I think we can start the session now, Yamini, madam. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Fine, sir.
Yeah. So welcome to everyone. Welcome for this wonderful webinar session from Industry 4.0 topic. I will take a couple of minutes to talk about the PMC Global Systems, a serious Industry 4.0 consulting company. And then I will hand it over to the faculty, Dr. Rajeshri madam, to go through this topic. Yeah. I understand that a couple of participants already attended our previous webinars. So please bear with us for next few minutes, go through this introduction again. Yeah. So, so we are into this Industry 4.0 consulting for last 4 years. and we call ourselves as a system integrator. Okay. The meaning of system integrator means the industry 4.0 got multiple technologies. It's evolving on a daily basis, right? And right now, anyone can easily put across a couple of technologies like IoT, 3D printing, and artificial intelligence, analytics, augmented reality, virtual reality, right? And to provide seamless service to our clients, what we did, we got our own competency on these technologies. And over and above, we got a partnership with multiple capable vendors across India and foreign countries. That's the reason we can able to provide end-to-end solution from industry 4.0 to the clients. Yeah. So it is very tough to find such kind of system integrator from market for emerging technology as and today. And these are a couple of clients we did projects from last few years. And for example, BHEL, a leading boiler manufacturing company from India, we are engaged with them for Industry 4.0 project. And for Kane, we did a robotic process automation project. And for TVS group of companies, we did IoT and RFID asset tracking. And also for a couple of foreign clients, for example, Agrona and other clients, we are working with them for strategic and tactical digital strategy roadmap for next 3 to 4 years. So if we talk about our services, we can see our company into 4 different categories. And for last few years, we started developing the industry 4.0 product. Can you please put yourself in mute if you don't mind? Just 1 minute, I'm hearing some background noise. Yeah. So what I said, we are into 4 different important aspects about Industry 4.0. And right now we are seriously developing few Industry 4.0 products. One product is a combination of IoT, cloud, and machine learning to address micro, small, medium industries requirement from India. So it is a cutting edge technology consisting of multiple emerging technologies, and we plan to launch by next couple of months. It is advanced stage of development, and also we are developing another product from blockchain and cloud solution to address procurement challenges from many companies. These are all from our product development perspective. And in terms of system integration, yes, we are doing a lot of projects. For example, IoT for big companies, RFID asset tracking, robotic process automation, augmented reality, virtual reality, 3D, whatnot. We got expertise from almost all segments from Industry 4.0, and we are displaying only few clients from the big list from our side. And also recently we started this assessment for big companies. So anyone want to start the Industry 4.0 journey, and they don't understand that strength and weakness. And unfortunately, even big companies, they have some kind of IT system in place. And if you ask me, are they ready for Industry 4.0? The answer is sympathetically no. But it's not the dead end, right? So they can start the process, and we are working with multiple clients to assess the current maturity level. And if they want to go for higher Industry 4.0 maturity level, we are working with them for some strategy. Yeah. And in fact, this is a very new initiative from Indian companies, and we are one of the pioneers to start this Industry 4.0 assessment mechanism. And come to this Future Connect, it's a very important initiative. We started last year, and this initiative we are only focusing on Industry 4.0 competency building program. And having said that, we are talking with multiple universities to offer the minor degree programs. Okay. The university will offer the major program, and we are offering the minor program. And for autonomous institutions, they are asking us to deliver electric courses. For example, Sastra University and few universities from across India, we are working with them to launch the electric courses. And for colleges, yes, we are doing a lot of the programs to enhance the employment aspect for the students. And working professional, yes. So we got a lot of inquiry from people working from manufacturing or finance or healthcare, and they want to get into emerging technology. We are helping them, and also corporates, we are working with them. And finally, faculty development program. And having said that, today we are going to talk about the Future Connect, okay, a very serious initiative for Industry 4.0 programs. And We talk about this competency building program, and we proudly say that we launched this T model for Industry 4.0 program in India. Okay, this is a patented model, I would say. And very interestingly, a couple of our own clients, they shown the interest saying that anyone complete this particular path-breaking training program, and they can for the interview process. Again, this is a platform to attend the interviews. To clear the interviews is up to the candidate's capability, right? They need to prove from the interview process, but there is a launching platform available for anyone complete this program. Yeah, and a couple of value proposition. I would say this is a first time anyone see such kind of program touching across all important components from Industry 4.0, also getting mastered in one particular technology, right? And if you see this top portion, you could see around 9 technologies. So the participants will go through 10 sessions from each component. And after that, and we are going to identify the strength out of 9, and they are going to go through one particular technology for about 40 hours. And finally, they will do the project from Chennai, okay, in the Crescent University campus. So after that, they can go for the interview process. And as I told, it's not the certificate given by any unknown company. It's accredited by a leading Indian deemed university. And yes, the entire program is going to be delivered by industry professionals and a couple of excellent academic professionals. So yes, it is a weekend program, and also we are offering weekday programs too. And everything will be delivered through state-of-the-art learning management system in seamless manner. So I would recommend all serious participants to go through this website, futuresment.net, and register yourself. And these are all a couple of advisory board from our side. In fact, we have very large board. We are meeting on every 3 months to understand the industry requirements. We are constantly updating our curriculum. And a couple of leading industry professionals you can see from here. And also a couple of faculties you can notice from this one. And for today's session, yeah. So, Yamini madam, can you please talk about Rajeshwari madam profile, today faculty?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Giri, sir. Dr. Rajeshwari completed her BTech IT in Anna University at 2008, MTech IT in PSG College of Technology in 2010, and PhD in College of Engineering, Anna University in 2017. She is also acting as a research supervisor and guiding PhD scholars in SRM Institute of Science and Technology. She has published SCI indexed journal in Spring and Elsevier. She also published her research papers
Yamini, your voice is not audible. Yeah, Yamini, are you there? Yeah, fine. I can probably continue. And Dr. Rajeshwari published a lot of journals from prestigious science index journals called as Springer and Elsevier. And it is very, very tough to publish on Springer and Elsevier, the top-rated journals. And in fact, she published numerous journals from Scopus indexed journal articles. And she got passion towards emerging technologies like cloud computing, big data analytics, IoT, and parallel computing. An amazing profile, absolutely expert from the chosen field, and you'll be very fortunate to hear such kind of knowledge from a leading faculty like Dr. Rajeshwari. So Rajeshwari madam, I'll hand it over the session to you and over to you now. Yeah, I will make you as a presenter. Please take it forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Aligri sir. Thank you, I am Yamini ma'am.
Yeah. So Rajeshwari madam, I'm going to hand over this presentation to you. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Yamini madam, I completed.
Ma'am, Yamini ma'am, I can't share my screen.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Yeah,
1 minute. Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah. Yeah, 1 minute. I'm trying to hand over the presenter screen to Rajeshwari madam. Just 1 minute, yeah. I'm trying to. Just 1 minute, yeah. I'm trying to look at madam.
Yeah.
Madam, can you able to share your screen, or I need to hand over the authority to you?
No, sir, I am not able to.
You are not able to, yeah. 1 minute, yeah, madam. Can you please ready 1 minute?
Name is Rajesh, just Rajesh.
Right here, yeah. Yeah, madam, can you please check now? Yeah, cool. Good.
Yeah, yes, sir, fine.
Sure, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. Good evening, all. Today we are going to discuss about the IoT and cloud computing, the basic concepts. What is is called as cloud? What is not? What are all the things are called as IoT devices? Okay, so those introduction we are going to see. Before enter into the cloud or IoT, definitely we should know the basic concepts of networking. Okay, if you are familiar with networking, there is no problem. Even if you are not having the basic knowledge of networking, first we see the what are all the basic things in networking. Then we move to the cloud. Then we see without virtualization concept, definitely we cannot do the talk about the cloud. So then we will see the virtualization concept. Then we go to the IoT. What are all the industries or how the devices are embedded with the IoT sensors, all those things we will discuss. In the last, we will have some hands-on session in AWS web service. Okay. So this was the today's agenda. So first, we will see the introduction to networking. So network is a collection of computers and other hardware components interconnected by communication channel. The communication channel may be wire or wireless. Okay. Then why we need to connect our computers and hardware components? The purpose is definitely we should make a communication. We should make a message transfer or data transfer among the systems. So that allow sharing of resources and information. Okay, there are some categories of our types of network. There are two famous types of network, that is peer-to-peer network and client server network. See, I think you can see my mouse point. The first one, the peer-to-peer network, there are number of devices connected, but there is no centralized server. Okay, all the devices are considered as equal. So that the client server operations have to be performed by each systems. There is no separate server to perform the server operations. So all the systems are considered as equal. It is called as, each systems are called as pair. There is no administrative rights in the network also. So all the systems are considered as equal and they can make a communication. There is no client server concepts in the peer-to-peer network. Then next one is a client server model. In a client server model, what in that network, particular network, one device or system will act as a server. The remaining thing will be a client. For example, if there is a centralized data storage, all the client devices which is connected into the particular network, client server network, definitely should store the data in the server. If there is any the managing the network, who is having the administration right? Here the server is managing the entire network, not at all the client. So the role of the server is a major part in that particular client server network. Okay. So if they want to access anything, it has to send the client has to send a request to a server, then the server will give a right or response to that. Okay. So these are all the two important types of network. Then there are some categories in a network we have categorized the network depends on the network coverage, network topologies, and network architecture. We have categorized into three. One is local area network, that is LAN. Another one is the metropolitan area network, that is called as MAN. Another one is the wide area network, that is called as WAN. See, for example, in a LAN, within a small geographical area, for example, within our office, within the particular university, within the building. So if we are connecting the systems within a building, within the particular office, okay, that is called as local area network. See the diagram. The distance or the geographical area distance. For example, it may be from 10 meter to 1 kilometer. Okay. In a metropolitan area network, for example, we are connecting the devices within a particular city. Okay. So the distance is more than 10 kilometers. Those type of networks comes under the metropolitan area network. In a wide area network, it connects number of MANs, okay, the worldwide, okay. So entire it connects the networks within the country or the continent. All the devices are connected into a wide area network. Okay, so there are two types. One is local area network within the building or within our university, within our office. The geographical, according to the geographical distance, they are categorized it. Okay, so it may be from 10 meter to 1 kilometer. So in a metropolitan, it will be in a particular city. In a wide area network, all the in the world, all the networks are connected in the wide area network. Okay. Then how we are connecting the devices, which will connect data, which will connect our system into a network. Okay. So there are three important connecting devices we have: switch, router, and access point. Before switch, we have hub. Okay. So within a LAN, if we are connecting the systems, we can use the hub. The difference between that switch and hub is, for example, wait a minute. See, if this is a hub, so there are n number of devices are connected into the hub. Consider we have a 4 device. Okay, all the devices are connected to a hub, for example. Okay, now device 1 want to transmit the data to a or make a communication to the device 2. What the hub do is, the hub cannot read the or know the sender and receiver address. It cannot read from the message or a data or a packet which is moving through the hub. It cannot read or identify the sender and receiver address. So what it do is, once the packet or data sent by the system 1, it reaches the hub will do the broadcasting, because it doesn't know where it has to throw the packet or a data. So it will send the message to all the devices which are connected to the hub. Okay. The only difference between the hub and switch is, if it is a switch instead of hub, it can identify the destination and source. So it can directly send the, for example, if the system 1 want to transmit the data to a device 2, directly it transmit the data to a device 2 instead of broadcast, it do the unicast. Okay, that is the only difference between the hub and switch. See, a switch acts as a controller connecting computers, printers, and servers to a network in a building or a campus. Okay, next one, router. Wait a minute. Okay. See, the router connects multiple networks together. Okay, they also connect computers on those networks to the internet. Okay, so the routers also can be wired or wireless, and the main important thing is, it can also provide, it also has the built-in security, such as it has the firewalls. Okay, so if there is any vulnerable data enter into the router, it can, okay, it can stop there in the router itself. It won't allow that those vulnerable data into that particular network. Okay, so it increases the, or it provides the security to a network. Then access point, definitely if you want to go for wireless communication, so the access point is important, and access point allows device to connect to the wireless network without cables. Okay, an access point plugs into a hub, switch, or wired router and sends out it produces the output of that access point as wireless signal, and it also acts as amplifier. It means that the signal strength is as the signal is traveled through that network, it may be the strength of the signal may reduced. Okay, it also improve the strength of the signal. That's called amplification. Okay, so these are all the connecting device. These are all the important connecting devices. Okay. Okay. Next one, while we are talking about the network, definitely we should also talk about the network topologies. Okay. The network topology is the arrangement of various elements like links, nodes, etc. of a computers. There are some types of network topologies we are going to discuss now. There is the first one. It's the bus topology. See this one. See, this is the bus topology. So here, all the devices, okay, it may be a client or server, whatever it is, the device which are there in a networks are connected into a single cable. Okay, so for example, this device one want to communicate or want to send a message to this particular device or this device. Okay, we name it as 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so it want to transmit data to a device 5. Definitely, it has to transmit the data through this cable, because it is a medium which connects all the devices in the network. If the device 2 wants to make a communication or send the data to a device 3, it also has to use this medium. The main disadvantage here is if there is a failure in that particular link, what will happen? The entire network will collapse, isn't it? If there is a failure, if the particular link is getting failed, the entire no device in the network can communicate or send a message. The entire network will get collapsed. Okay. Next one, star topology. See this diagram. This is the star topology here. Okay. See, all the devices are connected by using the centralized hub or switch, whatever it is. Okay, there will be a connecting device here. Okay, see, if the device 1 want to transmit the data to a device 2, it has to forward the data to this centralized connecting device. This device then can forward that. If it is a hub, it will do the broadcasting. If it is a fetch, it will do the unicast. It will open that packet and read the destination address, then it can send the packet to that particular destination device properly. Okay, see here, if this particular link is getting failed, okay, only the device 1 cannot send and receive the packet. The other device in the network is alive, it can do the communication. Okay, the next one, ring topology. In the ring topology, all the devices are, this is ring topology. Okay, all the devices are connected in a circular fashion. See, there are, but the data transmission only will happen in a unidirectional way. Okay, only one ring is there. Okay, for example, see the device 1, we name it as device, this is device 2, this is device 3, this is device 4. Okay, the device 1 want to transmit the data to device 4. Okay, if it is bidirectional, it can go by this way, isn't it? 1 to 4. Okay, but as it is unidirectional, it has to but go to device 2, then it through that, then it has to come here. But see, here we have one more thing called as token. Okay, see which device have a token in the particular period of time, that device only can do the data transmission. Okay, so there are a lot of concepts behind the ring topology, okay, that we cannot going to see now. Okay, so this the ring topology, the device 1 want to transmit the data to device 4, it has to come by this way and it reaches that 4. But here every system or the node which is connected into the network do that strengthen that signal. Okay, so there is no problem at all. It can the entire the full signals with the proper strength, it can reach that device 4. Okay, then mesh topology. Here also, if there is a failure, see here, if this the particular system connection is failed, if the device 2 want to transmit the data to a device 1, it cannot. But see, the device 4 want to transmit the data to device 2, it also cannot do the communication. The device 3 want to transmit the data to a device 2, it also, okay, then it also cannot transmit. Okay, next one, mesh topology. Here there is a dedicated link between all the devices. Okay, see, the device 1 having the dedicated link means point to point link. Okay, I mean it is directly connected to all other devices in the network. See, think about the complexity. Okay, how many links are there? Okay, so there are n number of devices. So for example, the device 1 having the line, I mean that link, that is the connection, okay, to all other devices in the network. If there is any link is getting failed, for example, if the particular link is failed, the device 1 alone cannot communicate with the device 2. The another thing will happen. Okay. Then tree topology. Here it follow the hierarchy. There is a root centralized device. Okay, it is in the level 0. In the level 1. Okay, like that in the level 2 and level 3 we have like that it's going on. Okay, there will this follow some hierarchy. Okay, so it is some kind of arrangement of devices in the network. Okay, next, so with this basic knowledge, now we are going to talk about cloud. What is cloud? Okay, how we can access it. Okay, so first, what is cloud computing? Why we need a cloud? Why it came into the picture first? Okay, see, for example, I have an organization. I have purchased a lot of devices. I mean, IT resources. It may be storage or computing resource or whatever it is. Okay, I have it for particular project or particular usage. I have purchased it. Okay, but after complete the project or a particular thing, it is not useful to me or a particular organization. It is going to be idle. Think about the cost I have invested on that, or the organization has invested on that. It is waste because the systems are idle, isn't it? It's not at all used. So they have thought that why we not giving those unused resources to a lease. Okay. For example, if we have a home, I have 2-3 home, I have purchased for some purpose, but if I'm not using now, okay, for example, you have purchased one house, you move to some other location. What you do? If it is not used, you are not simply locking and going, isn't it? You have given it for rent. Like that, they have planned to give those IT resources, idle, unused IT resources to a lease. Okay, that's why the cloud computing concept came first. Okay, so they have ready to lease it. Who will access? Who is taking the lease? Okay, who, if the home is they are giving the home for rent, who is going to take it for? Those who are not accessing the, not having that home in a particular period of time. So for example, the provider, okay, who is going to give the resources for lease, they are called as cloud service providers. Okay, who is going to take it for lease, they are called as cloud service consumers. Okay, who is going to consume? For example, see, I am going to start a particular business. Okay, you consider it may be a online shopping or something. Okay, see, I cannot predict that what about the growth of the business for next 6 years. Okay, I mean 6 months. It may be according to my plan. Okay, I plan that within the 6 months it may go to particular height, but if it is not, I planned like that, if I have purchased resources for all those according to my plan I have purchased, if it is not going like that, what will happen? The cost, initial investment, okay, the capital investment which I have invested to buy the IT resources, it will be definitely waste, isn't it? To avoid that, what I going to do is, better I'm going to lease that. I purchased something, it may option, okay, it may be the option. I may purchase something If it is go more than that, I take that particular IT resources as a lease. Otherwise, without investing on anything, definitely blankly I can go. Okay, on not taking the resource for leasing. Okay, so those who are taking the IT resources for lease, they are called as cloud service consumers. Okay, so this is the idea behind the cloud computing. Okay, so they have put all the resources in the pool. Okay, maybe computing, storage, interest, whatever it is, they are keeping in the pool. That resource pool. Okay, how we can access? We are going to access. I'm not going and getting in my hand. Okay, I can access it over that internet. Okay, it may be somewhere. Okay, for example, I want to store a data. I don't have that much capacity of memory to store it. I'm going to store it in a cloud data center. The data center may be anywhere. There is no rule that if you are a customer from India, your data should be stored in a data center which is available in India or Tamil Nadu or in our college. Okay, it may be anywhere. Okay, how it can? So definitely we need a internet connection. Okay, so with that knowledge, we go through this slide. Cloud computing is defined as storing and accessing of data and computing resources over the internet. Okay, it does not store any data on your personal computer. Okay, it is the on-demand availability. Note that point. It is the on-demand availability of the computer services like servers, data storage, networking, databases. What is on demand? Whenever I need, I use. If I don't want, I won't use it. For electricity, okay, if you are using, you are going to pay. Whenever there is a need, whenever you need to switch on the fan, you are going to. Otherwise, you won't, isn't it? So whenever there is a need to use that particular service, you have to. Okay. Then the main purpose of cloud computing is to give access to data centers to many users. Okay, the data center, for example, I am having a data center, some are the entire data center is idle or some part. So on that some part, I am going to give it for lease. That can be given to not a single user, it was many users. There, how the many users are accessing that single physical resource. There we come, we have to use the virtualization concept. That and all we will discuss it one by one. Okay. Then users can also access data from remote server. Okay. Okay. There are a lot of definitions on each organization having have defined this is cloud computing. Okay, there are a lot of definitions are given by each organizations. According here, we are going to see the definition of National Institute of Standard Technology (NIST). Okay, see the definition for cloud computing. Cloud computing is a model for enabling ubiquitous, that is, you can access them everywhere, anywhere, okay, at any time, convenient, on demand, okay, whenever you need, on demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources. You can also customize the service. Okay, example, what are all the services or resources? Network, servers, storage, applications and services. Now everything, they are also talking about XaaS. Anything can be given as a service. Okay, that can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider interaction. The service provider no need to interact much, okay, to provide a service to a customer. Okay, next one. So now we are going to discuss about the characteristics of cloud on demand usage. Okay, so already I have told you what is on demand usage. Okay, whenever there is a need, okay, I can use it for that particular period of time. There will be a lot of monitoring agents are there in a cloud. Okay, billing agent, measuring agents, all those things are there. They can monitor how you are going to how much electricity you are using. Like there will be a monitoring, isn't it? So depends on how much you have used, the billing will be calculated like that here also. Okay. So So whenever there is a need, for example, I give you one best example. See, there is your university result server. Okay, there is not that much load to the server for all the days. Okay, for example, whenever there is a result announced, it may be a December or it may be a May. In the particular, not that particular month, in the particular day alone, the number of hits to the server, the load to the server has been increased. But remaining days, there is not that much load. Okay, so whenever there is a demand, okay, they are taking it. Okay, other time there is no need to, other time they are not going to use it. Okay, then ubiquitous access, already in the definition itself I have told you that you can access it from everywhere. Okay, it means that to access that it may be Amazon cloud or whatever the cloud providers, whoever the cloud providers are, there will be a user ID and login credential will be given to you people. Okay, so by given that by using that login credentials, okay, by using your commodity hardware, you can access the cloud service. Okay, then multi-tenancy. For example, already they have told you know the data centers can be given to a shared to a many users. Many users can access the single physical resources. Okay, so while talking about the virtualization concept, I explain you in more detail. Okay, so multi-tenancy means more users can use access that multiple tenants can be there for single physical resource. Okay, next one, elasticity. There is very good characteristics of cloud. That's the main advantage. Okay, see, whenever you need, okay, automatically it will scale up. Again, in a scaling, there are a lot of types. There are two types: horizontal scaling, vertical scaling, and all. That and all, you don't get confused now. In a elastic, whenever there is a demand, automatically it will scale up. Whenever there is no demand, automatically it's scaled down. Okay. Same example. Whenever there is a, for example, taking the online shopping website. Okay. In the festival time. Okay. Festival time or there is a offer, okay, those days number of load, okay, a number of hit to the server is increased, so that time automatically, okay, it increases the curve. So why it is why we need that elasticity is, if we are consider today it is a normal day, there are 10 users going to access that server. Okay, that's it. Okay, but tomorrow I'm giving some offer, or due to that particular festival, there are 1,000 hits to the, okay, but if I have purchased the server for the capacity of 100 users can access it, what about the remaining 900 users? They cannot access it. There will be a business loss there, isn't it? They will go and purchase in some other website. Okay, not only the particular products is Amazon is not alone selling that, the Flipkart is also selling that. There are a number of online shopping websites are there. So if it is 1,000, it can go. Okay, it can also. Okay, so the reliability will be there. Okay, then if there is no use, okay, only 10 users are automatically it scale down. Okay, depends on the need, it scale up and scale down. That is called as elasticity. Okay, then measured usage. So how much you are using, okay, automatically it is scaling up, it's scaling down, isn't it? So depends on that, how much you are using. Definitely it should be measured for billing purpose. They are not giving for free of cost, isn't it? How much you are using electricity, that has been measured and the bill has been generated for you, like that. How much you are using, that has been measured and the bill has been generated. Okay, there are if you are going to go depth in, okay, definitely there will be a number of agent, monitoring agent, measuring agent, billing agent. There are a lot of agents are there. Okay, they can do all those things. Okay, then resiliency. See, for example, the consumer A want to access a service. Okay, particular cloud service. It may be any service. Okay, for example, you take that. While providing the service itself, there will be a redundancy will be created. If there is any failure, automatically it will move to that. It will go and take that, or the particular request has been assigned to the redundant one. So this reliability. Okay, it reduces the failure, it increases the reliability, the availability of the service is increased. Okay, so here we should talk about the service level agreement. There will be that is called as SLA. In the SLA, while you are getting the login credential, while you are going and keeping the agreement, they told this much availability will be there. There is not 100% they won't show at any time. It may be 99.9. Okay, that much availability. Okay, they has to provide. If there is any deviation, definitely the billing will be the cost of the cost you are going to pay that has been reduced. Okay, so they are very much in deep with that failures, how to handle, how to avoid that failures. Okay, so automatically whenever the service has been created, the redundant copy also will be created. If there is any failure, automatically your request will move to that redundant one. Okay, then there are number of mechanisms are there. Okay, it will again recover that failure one. Okay, then there are a lot of concepts. Okay, that we don't want now. Okay, I hope you understand that architectures of characteristics of cloud. Okay, next move into that cloud delivery models. Okay, in a cloud delivery model, a cloud delivery model represents a specific combination of IT resources offered by a cloud provider. Okay, depending on the types of IT resources required by the cloud consumer, three common delivery. This is the most common delivery models. Okay, one is the infrastructure as a service (IaaS). Another one is the platform as a service (PaaS). Another one is the software as a service. Now they are telling that everything can be, but these are all the three important delivery models of cloud. Okay, see, wait a minute. Okay, see, if I need an infrastructure, okay, what can be given in the infrastructure as a service? See, the hardware, network, connectivity, operating systems, okay, and other or IT resources. Okay, see here it has the in the infrastructure as a service, they are giving the hardware, network, connectivity, and operating system. Above that, I may install any platform. It may be I may install that operating system has been already there. So you can, for example, I want to develop an application using the Java platform, so I can install the Java there, write my code, and deploy it. I make a product or whatever it is. Okay, so the infrastructure has been given. Okay, next one. Platform as a service. Okay, in a platform as a service, so above that operating system, okay, if you want to deploy or develop directly, you want to go and write, you don't want to install anything over that service. Okay, what you have got from the service provider. So above that include with that IaaS, they also provide that platform. Okay, for example, I want to deploy my application in a Java or some platform that has been given. Okay, that is the platform as a service. So if you are getting a platform as a service, definitely the infra, why I'm drawing this diagram is definitely it should have a infrastructure within it. Okay, next one, software as a service. Okay, the final software means you don't think Java or C or something. Okay, it is an application software. Okay, so above that, so if you are getting the final product, definitely it have a platform and infrastructure, isn't it? So while you are getting the software as a service, definitely it has application and infrastructure. Okay, so I think you understand what is, if you are requesting infrastructure, what has been given. If you are requesting platform, what has been assigned. If you are requesting software as a service, what has been allocated to you. Okay, just go through this slide. The IaaS delivery model provides a self-contained IT environment comprised of infrastructure-centric IT resource. Okay, this environment can include hardware, network, connectivity, operating system, and other IT resources, raw IT resources. Okay, then platform as a service. Okay, the platform PaaS delivery model provides predefined cloud environment. Wait a minute. Okay. Predefined cloud environment with already deployed and configured IT resources with suitable IT resources suitable for the development and deployment for deployment of applications. In software as a service, the delivery model generally represents a product that exists as a shared cloud service. Okay, so these are all the three important delivery models in a cloud. Okay, next one. Cloud deployment model. Okay, in the cloud deployment, okay, what is cloud deployment model? It represents a specific type of cloud environment, primarily distinguished by ownership and size. Okay, how we are categorizing it by using the ownership and size. There are four common deployment models. Okay, one is public cloud, second one is private cloud, community cloud, third one, the fourth one is the hybrid. What is public cloud? Okay, say for example, I am an organization A. So I'm an organization A. I want to access a cloud service which is provided by, for example, the famous cloud service provider Amazon. Okay, I want to store my data in a Amazon cloud. Okay, so there is the cloud is owned by the not by my organization. It is a third-party cloud provider. I am using that cloud service. Okay, that is called as public cloud. Okay, it is a publicly accessible cloud environment owned by third-party cloud provider. Okay, now next one, private cloud. It is owned by single organization. For example, see, you consider your university. Okay, for example, for your university, you have a private cloud. Okay, it's for yours. Okay, it's yours. Okay, only owned by a single organization. It enables an organization to use cloud computing technology as a means of centralizing access. Why we need a private cloud? All the resources are mine. Okay, why I have to put it into the cloud? See example. For example, we have a number of departments in our university. Okay, all the departments definitely having their own IT resources. Okay, sometimes some department IT resources are idle. Other department need that. They are not having the sufficient resources in that particular period of time. Okay, so what they are planning is, so they can create a cloud for their university. They have put all the IT resources. Okay, whatever they have in their university across the department, they can put it in that resource pool and they are accessing whenever whoever want to access it, they can access, isn't it? So there is it minimizes the inadequate of resources. Okay, then community cloud, third one is community cloud. It is similar to a public cloud. Okay, except the access limit. Okay, here only that particular community of people, for example, the cloud is only for educational institution or the cloud is only for IT organization. Okay, so some specific community of people can access it. Okay, next one, next and the last one is hybrid cloud. In a hybrid, for consider it is a combination of both. We combine this two. Okay, why they are combining that private cloud and public cloud? See, as an organization A, it's my private cloud. Okay, this is organization A's private cloud. This is third party. I mean Amazon's public cloud. Okay, so see, it may be some pharmaceutical industry or something. Okay, so to prepare the particular for a particular medicine, they have some formulas. Why I am talking about that is the value of data you should know, isn't it? So that sensitive confidential data can be stored in their private cloud. Okay, not that much confidential data, they can go and store it in the third party, I mean public cloud. So confidential information they can store. For storing the confidential information, they can use their private cloud. Okay, they can exchange at any time between the public cloud and private cloud. So for example, I am saying, okay, for confidential information, for those purpose, they may use the private cloud. Okay, so for remaining data storage, they may access that public cloud. So they are using all their own private and public cloud. There is combination of two. Okay, that's all about cloud deployment models. Okay, next we are going to talk about the virtualization. Okay, see, already we have talked about multi-tenancy. Okay, see, we have a physical server. Okay, this is a physical server. There are multiple users, user 1, user 2, it may be user n. All the users are accessing them. Okay, how it is possible? The single physical server can be accessed by multiple users. How the multi-tenancy is possible? What they are doing is they are using the virtualization concept here. See, virtualization allows physical IT resources to provide multiple virtual images of themselves, okay, so that their underlying processing capacities, okay, can be shared individually by multiple consumers. Okay, see, this is our normal system. Okay, without virtualization concept, the CPU, memory, NAC, all the physical resources. Okay, there we have an operating system, we have an application. Okay, not multiple users can use it at the same time, isn't it? But here, see the visualization. Here we have a virtual software which is used to create a virtual machines. Okay, so we use it. So it will it divides the entire system. The hardware units, everything has been divided into number of parts. Each will be allocated to a single user. So it is possible that multiple users can access that physical resource. But from the user point of view, they doesn't know that there are number of users are using that physical, accessing that single system. Okay, according to their consumers point of view, they are alone accessing that system. Okay, but in reality there are number of users. Okay, for example, you take that memory, then you can see there are 1000 GB of memory is there. Okay, this device, sorry, this application need 100. This may need 500. Okay, this may need 200. Okay, if the single application is running, for example, it needs 200 GB, the remaining 800, for example, if I'm talking about memory, you can understand easily. Okay, not only for memory, the CPU, everything will come into the picture here. Okay, so 200 GB, the remaining 800 will be idle, isn't it? So what here we should know, what is the need of virtualization? To utilize the resources efficiently. That's fine, isn't it? So if we are using for 200, the remaining 800 will be idle. So they are planning to utilize that 800 also. It increases the efficiency of utilizing that particular physical machine, isn't it? So the main thing of using the virtualization is utilizing the resources efficiently. Okay, see, just go through this slide. Before virtualization, single OAG, only one. After dividing that everything, for example, if we are dividing that single physical machine into a 3, for each thing will be act as a separate system. So each thing you can install your own OS and you can install your applications, whatever it is. Okay, so everything will act as a separate system. So here multiple OSs are there. Okay, here single OS image per machine. Okay, then software and hardware tightly coupled, running multiple applications on same machine often creates conflict, underutilize the resources, okay, inflexible and costly infrastructure, okay. So after virtualization, hardware independent of operating system and application, virtual machines can be provisioned to any system, okay, can manage OS and application as a single unit, okay. So, okay. Next one, the virtual machine, the virtualization abstracts, okay, physical resources such as compute, storage, and network to function as logical resources, isn't it? Then it creates an abstraction layer to hide the physical characteristics of resources from users, okay. Then hypervisor, okay, the virtual, which creates the virtual machine, okay, the software, it may be a hardware or firmware, okay, it creates that, it is used to, it helps us to create a virtual machine, okay. The hypervisor or virtual machine monitor, BMM, creates and runs virtual machines, okay. The computer on which hypervisor runs one or more, I mean this one, the computer, okay, the base one, where we have a computer, okay, here we are having the virtual layer, virtualization software. This where we are installing the virtualization, that computer is called as host, okay. Above that virtualization, if we are installing OS, we are dividing into three, okay. The three are called as guest machine by simple, okay. A computer on which hypervisor runs one or more virtual machine, okay, is called as host machine. Each virtual machine is called as, okay, the each virtual machine is called as guest machine, okay. Then types of, there are two types of virtual machines, okay. Virtualization techniques are two types. One is bare metal hypervisor, okay. Bare metal hypervisor is called as type 1. Mostly all the industries, okay, are using that type 1, okay. If you want to install that virtual machine and if you want to play in that, you can go for type 2, but all the production unit, all the industries are using that type 1. It means that in a type 1, see this diagram, okay, there will be a bare metal. Bare metal means in the hardware, above that hardware layer, okay. The bare metal means the hardware, okay. Above that hardware layer, what we usually install? Operating system, isn't it? Instead of installing that operating system above that hardware layer, you have to install that hypervisor or a virtual machine monitor, VMM, okay, directly above that hardware layer. So it divides into number of virtual machines, okay. Then each virtual machine will be allocated to a user, okay. So directly above that hardware layer, you are installing the hypervisor. There is no host OS, isn't it? We are not, this machine is called as host machine, the entire machine. There is no host OS here, okay. Only the guest operating systems are there. Just to go through that slide, provides high, okay, runs directly on system hardware, provides higher performance, availability, and security. Support hardware hardware. This is also called as hardware virtualization, okay. Used in production. These are all the hypervisor which supports the, which is used for type 1 virtualization, okay. Next one, type 2, okay. In the type 2, above that hardware, okay, this is the host machine. Above that hardware layer, you have installed the operating system, okay, which belongs to this host, okay. So we have a host operating system. Above that host operating system, above that OS layer, you are installing that hypervisor, okay. Above that operating system, we are installing the hypervisor, okay. Then after that, you can have a guest operating system. Here we have a host operating system and guest operating system, okay. Here we can also have a para virtualization, full virtualization, that are all known now, okay. You just to understand the types, okay. Type 1, okay, directly there is no host operating system in a type 1, okay. Above that bare metal or a hardware layer, directly you have to install that hypervisor, okay. Here above that host operating system, you have to install that hypervisor, okay. Just go through this. hosted hypervisor or type 2 okay. It runs on a host operating system, supports software virtualization. It supports, okay. Rarely used in production. Okay, these are all the hypervisors used for creating the type 2 virtual machines. Okay, VMware workstation, VMware player and all. Okay. So that's all about virtualization. Next, we are going to discuss about IoT concepts. Okay, the basics of IoT. Okay, what is 2 minutes now? Okay. Next, what is IoT? Why IoT? We are nearly around 5 or around mostly 10, within 8 to 10 years only we are mostly talking about the IoT. Why we are talking IoT now? Okay, see, the internet was predominantly internet of people, okay, until around 2008. Okay, what happened after that? When there were more devices connected to the internet than people. See this diagram. See this picture. Okay, the world population in 2003 it is 6.3 billion. Number of connected devices, okay, in the internet, okay, that is only 500 million. So number of connected devices per person is 0.08. Okay, not even 1. Okay, but in 2010 it's increased to 1.84. Okay, in 2015 it goes to 3. I mean, one use for one human being. Okay, one person having is connecting are using 3.47 device, around 4 device. Okay, but in 2020 it became 6.5. Okay, I have connected 7 devices in the network. Okay, now like that each and every one. Okay, so number of people, the number of devices connected into the internet is more than that the number of people, number of population in the world. Okay, so that's why we are talking the IoT now. Okay, what is IoT? Okay, the Internet of Things. The expansion for IoT is Internet of Things. Okay, things is the connection of millions of smart devices. Okay, you underline the word smart. Okay, millions of smart devices and sensors connected to the internet. Okay, and we talk about what is smart, what is the device, what is smart device, why it is called as smart, that and we will talk. Okay, an estimated 3 million devices are connected to the internet every month. Okay, newly. Okay, new devices. Okay, two-third will be things. Things means sensors, actuators, and newly invented intelligent devices. Okay, the intelligence. Okay, that's the enough. We are talking about the AI and all. Okay, invented intelligent devices that monitor, control, analyze, and optimize our world. Okay, see, control. Okay, not only analyzing, monitoring, it also controls. Okay. Okay. Next one, what, where, and how of IoT. Okay. In recent years, the term smart has been adopted by many companies. You might come across smart car, smart city, okay, smart home appliances. Okay. Why it is smart? See, for example, you take that everyone using that refrigerator in our home. Okay, this might be best example you can understand. Okay, refrigerator, everyone might have been used this, isn't it? See, now why it is called a smart refrigerator? What is the difference between the normal refrigerator and smart? For example, I have purchased eggs. Okay, I store it in my refrigerator. Okay, I'm talking about normal refrigerator. Okay, so if daily I am using 1 or 2 eggs, whatever it is, I'm not at all counting that. Okay, it depends on the need. I am using the eggs. In a particular day, the eggs are over. Okay, there is no egg in my refrigerator. Okay, I have to, as a person, okay, as a user of that particular refrigerator, I have to see, okay, I have to make a note of that. I have to purchase and I have to keep it. I think everyone is using that, everyone is doing that same, okay. I don't know how many of you having the smart refrigerator. I'm not having, okay. So I have to notice, I have to purchase. So what will happen here? For example, today the eggs are over. Tomorrow, I want to do some things. I mean, some dishes using the eggs. Why I forget to purchase. Tomorrow morning, in the hurry, I'm opening the fridge or refrigerator for searching the egg. It's not there. Okay. So, what they are doing is how they are making it smart as they are keeping some sensors. Okay. What the sensors do, if the egg tray is empty, okay, it sends that, okay, and first thing, see that we will see the possibilities, okay. First thing, it may send a notification message to my mobile, maybe alert for every 1 hour or every 5 hours or morning, evening, okay. I have to set that, okay, when the notification has to arise. Okay, again, even though it send the notification, as a human being, I make a mistake. I don't, I forget to buy. Okay, this is the first one. In the second case, what it does, it sends, maybe I'm having that online grocery shopping application on, okay, for example, it may be a JioMart or whatever it is. Okay, so what it does, it directly, okay, it sends and directly go on and in my basket, in a JioMart, in my online shopping app, in my mobile, it is installed in my mobile, it go and add it in the basket. Okay, that is the second one. Even it has been, okay, even though it has been added, I have to order and I have to pay, isn't it? If I forget, definitely it won't, next day it won't be there. See the third possibility. Third possibility is it sends it, add it in my basket. It the smart device itself made an order. Okay, once order, definitely the delivery boy will deliver within the today evening or okay. So definitely consider the third possibility. Definitely the egg might be there in the next day morning. Isn't it? Now think. Now, can I say that refrigerator is smart? My refrigerator is smart when compared to the previous one. Okay, like that I'm taking that, I have taken that egg example. It may be for milk or whatever grocery items, not only for refrigerator, your light, I mean fan, okay, how it, if there is no person in a home, automatically it switch off. Okay, it has to sense the room temperature, it has to say for a smart fan, for example, okay, it sends the room temperature according to that, the fan, the speed of the fan has been controlled, or I have forget to off the fan or light and I came to the office, from here I can switch off, all those things, okay, make the device smart and reduces our memory power. Isn't it? Then next one, this means lot IoT has made these things smarter than they were before. Okay, it's already there. The fridge is already there. The light is already there. Okay, the switch is already there. But now they are acting smart. Now they became smart. Okay, so definitely see, now it is a smart refrigerator. Definitely what should be there? There should be a sensor. It may be any sensor. Okay, that and all now we are not going to see. It may be a temperature sensor or moisture sensor, whatever it is. Definitely we need a sensor, isn't it? Then we also need a internet connectivity, isn't it? Without internet connectivity, it won't. Without that network, okay. So definitely, while we are talking about IoT, definitely we should have a sensor and network connectivity. Okay. Then see the third point. It is projected that the number of IoT devices will reach 22.5 billion in 2020 from 6.6 billion in 2016. Okay, then companies will spend almost $5 trillion on IoT in the next 5 years. Here they are talking about from 2016 to 21, not now. Okay. Okay. See the slide. Here we are going to discuss some of the areas in which IoT will have profound impact. See the manufacturing industry. So how the IoT devices are used there. See, in a manufacturing industry, lot of machines are there in the production. Okay, there I have the machines are equipped with IoT devices. For example, to monitor the temperature or monitor the vibration sound. Why? To predict the failure. Okay, depends on that. There is a change. Okay, I can come to, there will be data are there. Okay, by analyzing all, if sensors are sensing and sending some data, it keep on collecting data. Okay, and sending. Okay, by using that data, I'm going to analyze this data, and I come to the conclusion that because of it producing this data, for example, the vibration sound is the value this much. Okay, so automatically, I come to the conclusion that the machine is going to get failure. Okay. So like that, in the manufacturing industry, we are using the IoT devices. Next, transportation. You also might have known. Okay, for example,
Dr. Rajeshwari Madam, I agree here. Dr. Rajeshwari Madam, yeah. So can you please, complete the session by next 7 to 8 minutes, Madam? Because after that we need to have question answer and other discussion points. So it is going good. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam.
Yeah, sir. Only I take next to 5 to okay within 7 minutes I complete. Sir, no problem.
Yeah, please, Madam.
Yeah,
okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Next for our transport, okay, we are also having the healthcare. You might have come across some of the IoT devices in the healthcare. For example, to monitor your blood pressure, heartbeat rate, everything they monitor and automatically send the data to report to that to a doctor or a clinic where you have consulted. Okay, so depends on that they may predict your health condition. Okay, energy. Our grid, smart grid, and we are talking no power lines. Okay, they are having these sensors. Okay, the automotive industry for smart car. Okay, you might have come across the smart cars and all. Okay, there is they may have a sensor to sense the fuel level, oil, gases. Okay, and give information to the user. Okay. Then consumer electronics. So what devices we are using? You might know very well about the Amazon Alexa, okay, smart watches. All those things are comes under the consumer electronics. In agriculture, a lot of people are doing the projects in the agricultural activities. We have moisture sensor. Some sensors keep in the ground and monitor the water level. Okay, what kind of crop you can cultivate, all those things. Okay, so for those purposes in the agriculture we are using the IoT devices. The retail and hospitality, some sensors or devices we are using to analyze particular buying option of the customer. Okay, then the facial recognition can be used to book your flight ticket and some hotel reservations, all those things. In the financial services, to your fingerprint can be used to open your bank account. Facial recognition can be used for accessing the ATM. Okay, so everywhere. So not only these, there are a lot of industries using everything because they are into smart world. Okay, so there are a lot of industries are using the IoT devices. Okay, next, there are data flow. Okay, not that much important. So the sensors and collect the data. It has been sent through the internet. That will be and organizing data and using data for future. This I come to next slide. I'll explain this in detail in next, not next one after this. Okay. Now see the definition of IoT. There's a short definition of IoT. For the introduction, you understand this alone. Sensors and actuators embedded in physical objects are linked through wired and wireless networks, often using the same internet protocol that connects the internet. Okay, so what we have talked till now? What is it? What is sensor? It's sensing some data. Okay, sensing that. What the actuator do? Okay, the sensor senses physical environment, it may a temperature. Okay, a pressure, whatever it is. The actuator converts that into a sensor, sorry, not actuator. The sensor sense it and converts or transforms into the electric signal. Okay, the actuator it do some action depends on the data. I mean, sent by the sensor. Okay, so that's what this data flow. Okay, see now the key features of IoT. So definitely, while we are talking about IoT, definitely we should all talk about the relationship between that IoT and AI, artificial intelligence, the intelligence algorithms. The data have been collected by your sensors. Okay, that has been processed. Okay, by that intelligence algorithms. Okay, it produces some result that has been implemented by that IoT device. Okay, collected. Okay, that's data flow I talked about. Collected, it has been processed by that algorithms, intelligent algorithms. Then it has been result has been implemented by again the action. The result means the action. Okay, has been implemented by that IoT devices. Then connectivity. Definitely, we should have a proper connectivity. You should have a sensors, active engagement between that the devices. It has to keep on transmitting data. And it has to keep on collect by that. Okay, storage device, there will be a network. Okay, then definitely the device should be small. Okay, then characteristics of IoT. The IoT devices are dynamic adapting in nature. For example, we have a surveillance camera. Okay, so depends on if it is day, if it is night time, it automatically adjusts the brightness. Okay, isn't it? And if the person is moving, not only a single camera is connected into the network, there are number of cameras are connected, so it automatically sends and also send the messages. Okay, there may be a connection, communication between the devices in the network. Okay, that is called as information network. So it sends and it also alert that next device there's a movement of a person or something. Okay, so you should alert the next device to capture it. Okay. So self-configuring, if there is any software update, if anything, not it has to update by itself. Okay, some communication, communication protocols are there. Okay, for transmitter. Okay, then unique identity, like each device having the IP address and this, there will be an interface for device. So by using that interface, user can monitor this, query the device. Okay, that has been happened. Okay, then integrated into information network. All devices are integrated into information network, so it can it can make a communication and share the message along which are connected in share the message among the IoT devices which are connected into the network. This is called as collective intelligence. Okay, then challenges in IoT, security. Okay, definitely if we have some cyber security problems, okay, the vulnerability is there. Okay, then privacy. While we are moving, transferring data into the network, definitely by default we know, okay, there will be encryption algorithms, all those things. Okay, comes into the picture. Encryption, decryption. It takes time for because it's sending a lot of data. Okay. But so that time, what they are some companies, some organization, IoT organizations, what they are doing is they are not encrypting the data simply as it is. Okay, but if there is a hacker, okay, hacking the data, there are a lot of users, consumers, credentials will be stolen. Okay, then complexity. See, there will be a lot of data are going into the devices, so definitely the complexity is high. Then flexibility. If there is a update, anything happen, the flexibility should be a matter. Okay, if there is anything happen, it has to it won't support. Okay, That is the problem here. Then customer expectation. Already I have told you, no, the refrigerator example. If you do this, that one, I have explained 3 possibilities. If we are creating the, make a small device for the possibility 1, they are expecting 2. They are not expecting for 2. If you have to go for 3. Okay. That's all. Now we go and see the demo for launching the virtual machines in AWS. This is AWS Amazon. Credentialing given, it's there, I think. Okay. For example, these are the services are there. For example, if you want to launch a virtual machine, you click that launch a virtual machine. You go and explore it. Okay, it's easy only. There are a lot of YouTube videos also available. Check it and explore by yourself. Now, in the meantime, if you have any question, please ask. We are accessing the using that internet, so use the internet connectivity fastly. If you have any question, you ask me.
Yeah, participants can post your question in the chat box. We will take it to the faculty.
Any questions, ma? See, I'm going to here. I'm launching the virtual machine. So first, I have to. I'm going to. It means that virtual machine is normal. You consider as a physical machine. But I have to select what operating system. What is? I need to select the configuration, isn't it? So first, here there are operating systems are given. So you can, for example, I'm choosing that Ubuntu. Okay. For operating system, I have selected that operating system. So here some types are there. That for example, okay. See, if I am using this, the virtual CPU memory, the block storage. Okay, this elastic block storage. There are different types of storages are there. So you choose anything, and you have to go for next to configure instance tail. So whatever you need for your configuration, you have to do. Okay, that's all simple. Okay. Number of instances, how many instance means how many virtual machines, each virtual machine is called as instant. How many virtual machine you want to create, so number of virtual machines you have to give. Next, add storage. Okay, so if you want add storage, you can change it and add. Okay, for example, for this login, it's eligible to add only that 13 GB, depends on your purchase. Okay, so I'm not going to add any tag. That is for monitoring purpose. Okay. Then configure security groups. Then skip as Madilla, no need. Then launch you give. If you want, you can also set that configure security groups and that. Okay. So this is view. So whatever configuration I have set, okay. Then you launch it. If you want, you can also select the keep and launch instance. Okay, now your instance is getting launched, I mean virtual machine. So if you want to see the view instances, you will be listed here. What we have created now, this one, okay, that is running. If you want to stop that, you just write that stopping. After stopping, if you want to reboot all those things, it's like normal. Okay. Then now the virtual machine has been created. Okay. You have to connect. No, the machine has been created. The service. Okay. I need some virtual machine. I ask the Amazon. They have provided, the provider provide that virtual machine. Okay. According to my configuration, they have created and provided. How I have to access? You have to do connect. To display the instance information of the okay, then you have to give connect here mark. So if you are using the Ubuntu system, it will be perfect. Okay, there is no need to install putty and all. Directly by using the SSH you can connect. If you are using the Windows system, you have to install putty. Okay, okay, now we go to the PPT again. So you it's Explorer, YouTube views are available. This and all there for nearly more than 12 years, 13 years. Okay, so there are a lot of YouTube views are there. You explore it. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, wonderful session, madam. Before answering the question, just I will take 1 minute to go through the course details. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, madam. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for all participants. Wonderful session by Dr. Rajeshwari, madam. And this is a sample faculty profile from our side, and all our faculties for not only IoT, even for augmented reality, virtual reality, 3D printing, all are PhD holders and got enormous industry experience. And to give an idea, this is a typical salary package any industry 4.0 professional can get from the current market. It is only for entry level and middle level professionals. For a experienced professional, it will be more than 25-30 lakhs. Okay, so no doubt it's going to rule the world for next 20-30 years. There is no harm anyone to explore to get into this industry 4.0 role. And this is a typical data you can find from the internet. So anyone want to attend the big data, you have to spend at minimum 40,000 rupees, good quality programs like us, and in RPA, so easily you can end up 5 lakh rupees. The question is that justifiable or affordable for all of you to attend this 5 lakhs program? Answer is definitely no. Now, what is the way forward? That's where we want to help, the aspiring student as well as working professionals to gain this much needed skill set in all aspects. So in fact, as the launching price, we want to launch this program, the 140 hours program T model, wherein, you can able to gain knowledge about all 9 different technologies. It's a 10 session for each technology, and one particular skill you are going to get into deep dive knowledge or retail knowledge, right? So in fact, I would say that it is only 10% of total package. And as I told, you are going to get 140 hours program and industry project and 3 certification and accredited by Crescent University. So having said that, anyone got this certificate, the moment go to the industry, the certificate got its own value because it is not given by unknown company, a prestigious university from India. And in fact, you can go to the website, right? So the next batch going to start by Jan first week. We already got enormous for a lot of registrations. So you make the payment or call us to get more information. and it is a golden opportunity to claim yourself as Industry 4.0 professionals from leading company and leading university from India, right? So that is our assurance. Yes, madam. So we got a couple of questions. In fact, we shared the feedback link to everyone. So please fill the feedback link and we will send the certificate to you. And meantime, we got a couple of questions from the participants, madam. I will read it out for the benefit of everyone. Yeah. So the question is, this is from Mr. Bharat. So I am Parthasarathi. I know about embedded system. Interested to learn IoT. Please say about what type of courses and details. Yes, Mr. Bharat. I explained about higher level 140 hours program, and over and above we have special programs only meant for combination of like-minded technologies. For example, IoT and cloud and data science. Yeah. And we have separate like-minded programs. So reach us for more information. We'll be more than happy to help you. Yeah. And there is another information from Unadi Singla. Looking forward to attend more sessions by you, madam. Wonderful session. Thank you very much. And there is another question from Chetan Boya. Great session. Thank you, madam. Thanks, Chetan, for the good comment. And this is a question from Gopalakrishnan, madam. Ma'am, can we use IoT in all places like industries too? Okay.
Sir, I am not able to hear. Is there any work, sir? Yeah,
probably I can answer, madam, because you are facing internet connection issue. See, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, the IoT became a global concept, right? And the sky is the limit to apply the IoT concept. If you go to industry, a lot of places they are installing IoT, they are making good strides in all aspects from the business angle. Yeah. Answer to the question, yes, it's a universal concept. Okay. So the feedback from Tikala Bhargava Reddy, no ma'am, concept are very clear. Thank you very much, Tikala. And Swarna is saying that wonderful presentation. Yeah, really appreciating. And Jakhmohan will provide us the PPT. Jakhmohan, if you go to the FeatureCon website, you can see all recorded versions of the webinars. So not only this webinar, even the previous webinar, you can download and make benefit out of it. We are more than happy to help all budding students and working professionals. Okay, so Abhishek is asking, will the feedback form? Yes, Abhishek, you can find the feedback form from this chat box. You can fill it up. Yeah. Okay. So Sankalp is saying that thank you for organizing such a knowledgeable session. Yeah. So this, as part of the corporate social responsibility program, every week we are organizing 3 webinars on emerging technology. I think next week we are going to talk about augmented reality, virtual reality, 3D printing. Please attend and get maximum benefit out of it. Yeah. So I think thank you very much, Dr. Rajeshwari. Wonderful session. In fact, I personally learned a lot of many things from you today from today's session. So thanks, participants, and my sincere request. This is a golden opportunity to learn Industry 4.0 from a leading company and leading university, and register for the course. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rajeshwari Madam. Thank you very much, everyone. And you can go to the website and get the recorded version. Yeah. Thank you very much.